Transportation Day, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. And first tonight, we're going to call to order and confirmation of the quorum.
Mr. Chair, yes, the press has been notified and we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And at this time, public participation, if anyone from the public would like to make a comment on questions, they have questions, this would be the time to do so. Very dead silence, we'll move along with that. So now we'll do our introductions, and I will start. My name is David Allgood. I'm with the Center for Accessible Living in Louisville, and we're a disability resource center. We help people with disabilities stay in the community by studying their choices as independently as possibly can. And I'll go to my right and go this way.
Christina Espinosa. I'm at the Human Development Institute at the University of Kentucky, and we're the University Center on Disability. So our work is all around improving life for people with disabilities.
Hello everyone, I'm Charles President, Field Office Director with Department of HUD, Louisville Field Office.
Good afternoon, David Rayleigh, Senior Analyst with HUD.
I'm Lisa Barron. I'm not actually a member of the committee, but I'm staffing it, so I'm with Kentucky Housing.
Brian Perry, Kentucky Department of Education, proxy for Commissioner Fletcher.
Actually, Jeremy Stevens on behalf of Brandon, provider of community services in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Hello everyone, Bruce Hill, Welcome House. I'm the Regional Director for Homeless Solutions, Housing Supportive Services for the Buffalo Trace Gateway and Five Kill Ag districts.
Hello everybody, I'm Michael Gardner. I'm with New Direction Housing Corporation in Louisville, Kentucky.
Hello everyone, I'm Kenya Stump, Director of Kentucky Office of Energy Policy. I'm proxy for the Secretary of the Energy and Environment Cabinet.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian Slusher. I'm an East Kentuckian, so I'm trying to disguise my accent a little bit.
Don't do it.
I'm a representative for the Central Midwest Carpenters and Millwrights Union, located here in Lexington. So next door in Lexington. I'm sorry.
You want to go, or do you want us to?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Adrian Bush, Homeless and Housing Coalition of Kentucky.
I'm Heather Haregrove. I'm Kentucky Housing Corporation employee, and I'm the Housing Supply Accelerator.
Logan Haynes, Kentucky Manufactured Housing Institute.
Rishan Martin, Director of St. John Center. We are a homeless service and housing provider.
Kathy Fingelstaller, proxy for Commissioner Matt Sawyers as Department for Local Government.
Tracy Jackson, Caddy for Health and Family Services, proxy for Dr. Stack.
I'm Zach Worsham from Winterwood Incorporated in Lexington.
I'm Emma Wilson with the Kentucky League of Cities, and I'm proxy for our Director of Government Affairs, Gracie Kelly.
Ann Price with People's Self-Help Housing.
Kelly Reynolds, Kentucky Housing Corporation, Assistant Director of Housing Contract Administration, over single family programs and motorization.
Thank you all very much for the introductions. And we will take an entertain. Did everyone have an opportunity to receive the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Good. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Motion carried. Our legislative updates. Adrian, would you mind coming up and
Sure.
educating on all the great things that happened in Frankfurt?
Okay, well, hello everyone again. And the legislative session that just finished almost 2 weeks ago on April 15th. I have a few things to report out. From our perspective at HHCK, we're looking for state housing solutions that increase the affordability, increase the housing supply and affordability for extremely low-income Kentuckians. I have actual notes here. I could probably look down at them. Number two, that would improve access to housing for people who are housing insecure. And then third is, our pillar is creating statewide renter protections. So, one of our priority bills was House Bill 333. that was affectionately called Yes in God's Backyard, that would streamline the planning and zoning process for faith-based institutions to develop affordable housing, provided that they owned it prior to the beginning of this year. And housing would be affordable for 0 to 80% of the area median income. This year we were able to get a 15-year affordability period to match the low-income housing tax credit, federal affordability period. And we were also able to include by right zoning for shelters and warming centers as well. So this bill did pass. It started off in the House, passed the Senate, and was signed into law April 7th. So it will take effect mid-July. We also had a couple of other priorities that advanced, but didn't quite make it over the finish line. One was a bill that we talked about quite a bit at the last HPAC meeting in January, and that was House Bill 338 that would expunge dismissed evictions. Over the last 5 years, over half the evictions filed in Kentucky have been dismissed. That is, they've not gone to judgment. The folks have made good either with the rent or with other issues prior to an actual legal judgment. And this bill would have allowed those dismissals to fall off the record. Unfortunately, while it passed the House unanimously, it got caught up in some horse trading, which I'll talk about in a minute at the very end of session. And so it did not fully pass both chambers. House Bill 411 was a bill that we'd been working on last year and this year to modernize and index the fees that fund the State Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This would have increased the fees that currently fund it, which are $6 per mortgage fee and $6 on every other deed transaction fee. It would have increased it $13 and $23 to $36 respectively, and it would have brought it in line with what other states have going to their Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Unfortunately, the bill on its own, it garnered some opposition, primarily from the home builders and the realtors, and so it died on the House side of things. Another bill that was kind of in our second tier of priorities was House Bill 377 that would have prohibited utilities from disconnecting electric during really hot or cold periods. Would not have forgiven any debt or done anything dramatic, material. It just would have been like a little pause during extreme temperatures. Unfortunately, it did not advance. I'm telling you all the bad news so that I can get to the good stuff. So,
Can I ask you a question for?
Sure.
411, why do you think it was that the home builders had an issue with that bill?
Their stated reason was that they oppose any fee related to housing. I would argue that this fee is not just a fee for fee's sake. It is a fee that actually goes into a fund that actually provides housing. So that was their reasoning.
So the one fee, that's the issue that they have.
Yeah.
Ran into similar issues over the last several years. Anything that seems to be an increase in cost, they push back greatly about.
And I mean, I would argue that, yes, going from $12 to $36 is kind of a steep jump, but one thing is that we are catching up for 20 years of a flat fee that has remained the same since the General Assembly adopted the fee structure in place. The second thing that I would argue is that as someone who has a 30-year mortgage, I did not even notice the Affordable Housing Trust Fund fees when we closed. And if I had, I would say that the house that we bought was probably structurally unaffordable. We probably shouldn't have been buying it, you know? So, but it's something that, in talking to folks around the state, our nonprofit housing developers, this is something that is very important to them, because the Affordable Housing Trust Fund has lost its purchasing power, both, for any type of construction, whether it's home repair, multifamily, or single family home buyer, and it does need modernized. So, any other questions on that?
No, thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. Senate Bill 222 was filed by Senator Herron, and it is a brownfield redevelopment bill for housing. It will remove or reduce a land use restriction in the environmental covenant that the Energy and Environment Cabinet has determined is no longer necessary. It was pitched as kind of a cleanup measure when Kentucky adopted its brownfield statutes probably 13 years ago. Is that right? I'm just looking at you because you have EEC. Like,
The updated ones
yeah.
provided more liability protection.
Yeah. So, but this was something that she specifically was looking at a project in Louisville and wanted that capacity to take place in other parts of the state too. Senate Bill 9. Raise your hand if you heard about Senate Bill 9. You did? Okay. Great. So Senate Bill 9 was what became known as the Omnibus Housing Bill. So during the interim, we had a legislative housing task force that met actually during the prior two interims, and a lot of proposals were adopted as part of the task force's recommendations, including modernizing and indexing the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Just say that was one of them. But there were also some other things. And so Senate Bill 9 was filed by co-chair Senator Mills from Henderson, and it would allow a local government to establish a housing development district and a locally funded housing incentive payment program. So the Senate passes it, the House receives it, the House assigns it to House local government, but they don't have a committee hearing. In the meantime, they're adding other bills that had originated in the House but had not advanced into what's called a committee substitute of Senate Bill 9. So on day 58 of the session, right before the veto recess, House Local Government Committee meets with this brand new committee substitute that is now 65 pages long. And it has lots of good stuff in it. It has House Bill 536, which is the House's version of the Housing Development District. Also potentially would include some money there, at least the funding structure for it. House Bills 617 and 618, which were filed by Representative Whitten, who is the co-chair of the Housing Task Force on the House side, that would reduce minimum lot sizes and parking minimums, would consider that mixed-use developments be considered permitted use in all commercial zones, and that 2, 3, and 4 unit dwellings would be subject to the same building code standards as single family. It also included House Bill 338, dismissed eviction expungement. And then finally, and also something about electric fencing too. I wasn't really paying that much attention to that part of it. And then it also included Senate Bill 112, which had been filed, had not advanced, that would preempt local governments from adopting, enacting, enforcing regulations on short-term rentals. That was a bill that was strongly advocated for by Airbnb. So the House and the Senate that day, the bill goes back to the House from committee. The House votes it out. It sits in the Senate, and the Senate does not take it up. And they go into veto recess, and lots of folks were advocating for passage of Senate Bill 9, as it now is, as this omnibus housing bill, including the realtors, the home builders, the chambers, including HHCK. We wanted to see this thing pass. Ultimately, the House and Senate appointed a conference committee to try to hash out the differences on day 59 on April 14th, and they could not. So they did not take it up. They did not take up the conference committee. So Senate Bill 9 died, unfortunately. There are some housing impacts in budget and revenue legislation. House Bill 900, which is the appropriations from the Budget Reserve Trust Fund or the Rainy Day Fund. The last two budget cycles, the legislature has separated out what they consider like core government functions into one budget bill, and then another where they consider more one-time expenses coming from the Rainy Day Fund. So House Bill 900 was that Rainy Day Fund bill. And we saw $5 million to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So they did not take up House Bill 411, but they did appropriate $5 million, which is more than the Affordable Housing Trust Fund has received in a year, in the last 10 years at least, based on receipts, right? So that's a good thing. $10 million to a new residential infrastructure revolving loan fund. This is new. So this was a priority of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and other folks, and they were really pitching like $200 million was the ask there. So we have a $10 million appropriation there. We have $100 million to the state matching grant program for those of you who are interested in matching some federal grants. That will be available. And then also $5 million in the second year of the biennial budget to the establishment of a grant program for not-for-profit community development financial institutions headquartered in Kentucky. The reason I had to write all that down because I'm like, I don't want to misstate. I want to make sure I get that exact. To use for financial products for the production of commercial real estate, community facilities, and housing. House Bill 757 was the revenue bill, and it contains a revised historic properties tax credit of $100 million. And then House Bill 869, which passed on 4/15, and I actually did not see if the governor has signed it. I'm going to assume he did, but I can double check that. Includes a new certified mixed-use rehabilitation credit of $50 million in populations of 300,000 or more. So, Jefferson County. All right. So that is what I have. Overall, I think we are leaving this session in a better place than we were going into it in terms of priorities that have advanced and priorities that are teed up for advancing in the 2027 session. I think the fate of Senate Bill 9 probably left a bad taste in people's mouths that have been working on housing advocacy during the session. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about moving forward with this General Assembly and with the priorities that we have in place. So, happy to take any questions. Hey, Brian.
Not a question, but I did want to mention that House Bill 661 was filed, and it would have provided local boards of education kind of a pathway to providing housing for employees. So kind of, I think this is the first bill that I've seen that would have done this since I've been at KDE, so for 5 sessions. Just wanted to throw it out there because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And because the sponsor is Vice Chair Kleins, Chair Lewis is not coming back, so there's a chance that we see Kleins move into the chair, in which case I would suspect that we will see this get heard, at least in committee next time.
Yeah, no, thanks for flagging that. I do remember that Representative Banta had filed something similar to it. I don't know. There was so much housing legislation this session, it was hard to keep up with.
Yeah, and that one didn't get heard or anything.
Yeah.
It did get some readings at the end, but it looked like it might move out of the House. But
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, yeah. Thanks for that. Hey, Lisa.
Just a question on the trust fund appropriation?
Yes.
So it was $5 million. Is that over the next 2-year budget
It is.
cycle? So
It's 2.5 and 2.5, yeah.
were a couple of bills that
Mhm.
would have provided a tax credit for home modification.
Yeah.
Those didn't go through, did they?
No, unfortunately.
Thoughts on those?
I think, I mean, we have supported, like I said, this year was drinking, a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. In years past, we have supported bills that effectuate that, just because from our perspective, we can't lose any housing units. We need to make the housing units that we have work. And as someone who's like a Gen Xer and got aging parents, and also, like a lot of us are, I think we're all trying to figure out ways to help people age in place. So that may be something that comes up more seriously in the next session. Yes.
Could you, can we revisit the $10 million appropriation to, it was for residential properties, but I didn't understand
Yeah.
what it was, exactly what the funds could be used for?
Yeah. That's probably because I said it in like 30 seconds, right? So, since this is a new program, I'm not going to pretend that I am an expert on everything these funds can and can't do. I can tell you a little bit about my understanding of the intent. And that is, a couple of years ago, Indiana used their state and local fiscal relief funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to set aside a couple $100 million to give to counties on a competitive basis that they could then use in part for the development of housing, to help get the infrastructure, all the stuff that you are losing money on before you even start building, right? And so this was something that I think the intent is to deal with all of the water, wastewater, roads, streetlights, all of that. But I'm happy, there may be folks who worked on that piece more than I did.
But so it sounds like it's money that developers could apply for to take care of some of those upfront costs?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, it has been, it may have gone to Cabinet for Economic Development. It did not go to KHC, so.
The thing you said is that during the interim housing, I think a lot of legislators were enlightened. That's why we had so many bills this year, because you had experts from both sides of the house saying, if y'all don't do something soon, you can build all the warehouses that you want, but you don't have a roof over your head, then you're not gonna bring the employees in, so.
Right.
That's why we had such an influx, but unfortunately, again, what happened with the Senate Bill 9 was very unfortunate. I don't want too much work on it, but would it be possible for you just like to send out an email with a synopsis of what you told us?
Yes, so I'm going to tell you, this is actually a slide deck that I put together because I do a lot of meetings the second and third week of January, April, July, and October. And for whatever reason, yesterday I thought about Lisa and I was like, man, I really should have sent the slide deck to her. But I was like, I didn't want to stress you out. So, but I'm happy to send it after the fact.
Okay, no, I can send it out.
Yeah, is that okay?
That's perfect, thank you very much.
It will contain some federal stuff because, like I said, I've been talking to a lot of people about a lot of different things. So please feel free to treat it like a buffet and use what you can use.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. I'm curious though, are there other pieces of legislation people were working on that they want to provide any updates? Because I was not the only one working the legislative session. No? Okay.
Well, if no one, just to say
Yeah.
thank you, right, for
Yeah.
your advocacy. And to celebrate the matching funds, right,
Yes.
that's a huge win for
Yes.
the nonprofit sector.
Yeah.
Do you know how, if that full pot was utilized in the previous year? I know there was just questions around, was it enough, or, enough
Yes.
people?
So I don't know. I had heard that it was not completely utilized, and so that was part of like their will we not add to it or such. But like, I just heard that. I never actually read it anywhere, so take it with a grain of salt.
I was happy that they still put 100 million in there.
I am too.
I will say that we, in the disability community, we a lot of us put emphasis on housing, but also put a lot of emphasis on Medicaid waivers, which helps keep people in the community. And we're now up to almost 20,000 people on the waiting list, and unfortunately, we have 405 additional slots.
Yes.
In 2 years, so that won't be making much of a dent, but we will keep plugging away on that. But again, we have community-based services, but they have no place to live, and we're gonna bang our head against the wall, unfortunately. So that's why we really have to get these housing units created.
Online.
Affordable and accessible.
Yeah, no, that's a good point with the waiver slots, the home and community-based slots. Overall, I think we're kind of in a wait and see what happens with Medicaid due to the passage of House Bill 2. I did not bring that up. I'm happy to talk about it with anybody offline because it was a very large bill, about 75 pages, in response to the federal One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So Kentucky Medicaid's about to change. So we, especially those are, have our hands in homeless service provision. It's going to be an interesting few years. So.
Adrian, just,
Sure.
I heard a rumor that because Senate Bill 9 didn't go through, the legislature is considering opening the budget again in the next session to address some. Have you heard similar?
I had not, but I will say when given enough pressure, the legislature will use a non-budget year. We saw it with the floods and the Rural Housing Trust Fund in 23. And I do think we have an engaged legislature. I do think they want to do something. So, I mean, the other thing too is sometimes I try to speak rumors into existence. Like I really wanted a year or two of the housing task force, and so I just kept talking about it. Not saying that correlation is causation, but I also don't think it hurts either. So.
Again, thank you for everything you do.
Sure. Thank you all.
Mr. Chair, if I could add something just while we're on legislation. Wendy and Winston and Sam from KHC just got back. Last week they were up in DC on the Hill with all the other housing finance agencies doing advocacy work and met with a lot of all I think of the offices of our representatives. And I made a few copies of the materials that they took with them. There are some hard copies over here on the table if you want it or if anyone wants to look at it. And I'd be happy to send that out also with Adrian's PowerPoint, just so you all would have a copy of what they talked to them about and have some of that information.
Great, thank you. And next, we have talking about the weatherization program, Carrie Kelly.
My favorite topic. It's hot right now.
Right. I think I do this spiel a lot, so I think everyone in here should know about weatherization at this point. But LIHEAP dollars, because our Cabinet for Health and Family Services is allowed to carve out 15% of LIHEAP utility bill assistance to do weatherization. So they give us 15%. And then we have